Hello, welcome. Today, we're going to be going over some rational arguments for the existence of God. So we're going to be looking at this model you see here on the screen, and that is a model of the Big Bang. You can read it from left to right. So in the first position, we see the universe at time equals 0. The universe is taking up 0 space at that time, so it's infinitesimally small. And there is an infinite amount of energy. And then as you move to the right to the diagram, you just see that the universe at time 1, time 2, and time equals n for time now. These, of course, are completely arbitrary times. Since time is relative, it doesn't matter. So what we're looking at, though, is cause and effect. So we can see that as the universe moves out, there was a cause for the effect. So the initial cause was the Big Bang happened, and then the other effects, universe or galaxies formed and things like that. So that's what we'll be analyzing. We'll be looking at spending the time on time equals 0, and we'll be looking at if it's a better explanation if complete random chance caused that to happen, or if God caused that to happen. But it will not be discussing who or what God is. That is not relevant here. So this is a simple argument: does God exist or not? I'm not claiming to know what kind of being God is. I don't think I need to prove what kind of being God is to describe, or I don't need to describe what kind of being God is to prove if he does or does not exist, he or she. We'll be considering for this argument Newton's first and third laws. So they will state that objects at rest will stay at rest, and an object in motion will stay in motion unless acted upon by an external force. And for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. We'll also be considering the law of conservation of energy. So in our universe, energy can be neither created or destroyed. And remember, E equals mc squared, so energy is matter and matter is energy. So this holds true for matter as well. Rather, it can be transformed from one state to another. So you or I or anyone that we know of cannot create or destroy energy or matter. We can simply change its state. We'll also be looking at causality. So all effects must have a specific physical causes due to fundamental interactions. So what does that mean? Chicken and the egg, right? So what came first? You need an egg to hatch a chicken, but you need a chicken to lay an egg. So what was the root cause? So now if you're going to say, well, evolution, another life form laid the egg, and because of complete random chance, that didn't breed a chicken, it didn't lay whatever it was, some other bird type animal, but because of complete random chance and genetic variation, it came out a chicken, and then more and more chickens started breeding. That's fine, but what you're not thinking of is far enough back. So we're taking the root cause all the way back to what we understand what was a very, very, very first cause. See, as the universe has expanded through the Big Bang and evolution, these are all effects. So we see on the diagram at the bottom of the timeline, on the right I have effect, and on the left I have cause. So we're talking about the cause at root 0, and everything else is going to be an effect of that base cause. This is where it gets interesting, because there isn't anything in the universe that we know of that could be its own cause. So I didn't cause myself. I was born. My parents were born, and you could take it all the way back. Before, if they were, let's say we're primates, that's fine. Again, the primates they didn't cause themselves. right? So it would take it back before primates to, uh, fish before that. The fish didn't cause themselves. Okay, let's take it back to before fish. One-celled organisms. The one-celled organisms don't cause themselves. They multiply. Where did they come from? Presumably a primordial ooze, which didn't cause itself. Which came from a planet, which again didn't cause itself, and all the way back to the left on our diagram at time equals 0. Now, as nothing can be its own cause. Also, because of the law of conservation of energy or matter, it seems as though the energy in the universe is fixed, at least as far as we understand. If nothing in the universe can get energy from nothing, right? The basically what it's saying is you have to get energy from some other system. If your system is a car, for example, it's got to get energy from gasoline. If your system is the planet Earth, it was it's put in motion by the Big Bang, and now it's just hurling through space at tens of thousands of miles an hour. Now, as a universe, as a system, if you consider the entire universe as a system at the point of the Big Bang, where did that system get its energy to begin with? Had it comes from somewhere. If we look at causality and the law of conservation of energy and ask the question, when the universe was at infinitesimally small, how was it created? One theory is, of course, complete random chance. The only issue I have with that theory is I don't know if randomness explains how something can come from nothing. So something would have to be its own cause, thus violating causality, and it would also have to create its own energy or matter from nothing. So it would have to be its own cause and create its own energy. Then what's interesting is, though, let's say that's true, but as we move to the right on the diagram, those things no longer hold. We're not aware of any systems in our universe that are their own cause or create their own energy. They all are caused by something else, and they all get their mass or energy from something else, another cause before them. They are the effect of another cause. So that's really strange for me, that if you consider the entire universe as a system, how does the system come into existence? And that to me, I don't think that can be explained by complete random chance. That's where the God argument comes in. So that's where, okay, so there must be a being which sits at a higher dimension than space and time, that exists outside of all space and all time, so is not bound by time or space, obviously, and that created this lower dimension, the universe, the space-time universe as we know it. So this being who does violate these laws, the being which is its own cause, and the being which is its own energy, was the root cause and gave the energy to the Big Bang, which got everything going. That's why God has sometimes been called the unmoved mover. Now, in looking at this model, I also wanted to break it down by two events. Number one, the universe had to be created, but number two, there also needed to be a catalyst to get the whole thing going. If I have a tire at the top of a hill and no forces act upon that tire, presumably it will sit there for all time doing nothing. However, if I, as an external system, come and push that tire, it will then cause a chain reaction, and that tire will roll down the hill. So this is what we predict from Newton's first and third laws. So the object will stay at rest until we, do something. We, as an external force, an external system, act upon it. We push the tire, it rolled down the hill. And there's my action was to, exert a force, and there was an equal and opposite reaction. So if our action in this case was, okay, so the universe exists at the point of the Big Bang, at the singularity, it exists. The singularity exists. So we talked about, well, how did it come into existence? Was it its own cause? Can complete random chance describe that? Well, okay, so after it is in existence, what gets it going in motion? Okay, because a system can exist without being put into motion, right? With the tire example, whatever systems that inanimate objects you want to think of that you can create, which also have to be created and then put into motion. And that's the catalyst that I'm talking about. So what put the universe into motion? What caused the catalyst? What was the external force to the universe which caused the Big Bang, domino effect, if you will, to start? Presumably, there must be something outside the universe in order to make that happen. So the argument, the God argument would be, God. God was both created the universe and then was also the catalyst to start the chain of events, which started the Big Bang, and then everything up until time now to where you're sitting and listening to this. So the other theory is, of course, well, the singularity existed and just the conditions were just right, and it just so happened to expand on its own. So a lot of people didn't buy that explanation, and this is where you get the theory of the multiverse. Well, there must be infinite number of universes, and in some of those universes, the Big Bang did not go. So see, if you do something enough times, different things will happen. That is the alternate theory. So I would like to propose the idea of Occam's razor. Occam's razor states that the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. So what does this mean? If you're, how you catch somebody in a lie and they're telling a story and they keep on changing events and they keep on, the story keeps on getting more and more fantastic as you ask them to explain it, whereas, whatever they're lying about, it could explain everything, why they were lying in the first place. So this is the idea of Occam's razor. So basically, why I like the God argument over complete random chance is because, so first of all, I don't know what is the probability for a thing to create itself, because that needed to happen with the universe. So a thing would have needed to create itself, and then after it created itself, okay, let's say that we live in a universe where things can create itself, but then after it created itself, nothing else in our universe can create itself. So it can't get energy from other systems. It can only get energy from other systems. Systems cannot beget their own energy. And they cannot be the root cause. It's systems need a cause before them, and they're the after effect. So those are two things that are true in our universe, and both those things, for the complete random chance model to be true, would need to happen. To come into existence, the universe would have needed to violate its own laws, and then change those laws back, as far as we understand them today. Now, the other thing is, after it came into existence, it needs to get going. It needs to start this chain reaction. And as far as we know, to start a chain reaction, we need a catalyst, and that's where Newton's laws come in here. That objects will just stay at rest. This singularity would likely just stay at rest. What acted upon it to get it going? So if you do chemistry, for example, you can mix a lot of things together and they'll just stay stable and stable and stable, and it's not until you add a catalyst, a catalyzing agent, that they will actually do their thing and combine and react. And so that's what I'm talking about here. So for every action, there's a reaction. Well, again, what can act upon the universe? Only something outside of the universe itself, something higher. That could be explained by God. I don't think that complete random chance is the best explainer of these things. You might say, well, what about, God has to violate these laws, his or herself, to exist, and that's true. But if you create a system or a game, for example, you could break your own laws. So say I build a computer program, I'm the developer, you're a user, you use the system and the rules I've set. However, those rules don't apply to me. I could go into the system and do whatever I want. So we do this all the time. We break the rules of our own systems. It's, just what humanity does. So I would say that yes, God is not bound by these laws. So God is not bound by the law of causality. God is its own cause. God is not bound by the law of conservation of energy. God is its own energy. God is not bound by Newton's laws either, right? So God was its own start. It didn't need an external force. God caused itself to both exist and to be put into motion. So now I know that you might say, well, this is not a hard proof. And you're right, it's a probability model. What I'm stating is, what is more probabilistic? What is most likely? Is the cause most likely of the universe complete random chance, or is the cause of the universe most likely a creator? So if you're looking for a predictor with 100% accuracy beyond a shadow of a doubt proof, you're living in the wrong reality. There is no such thing. You cannot build a predictive model that is 100% accurate. And if you did, it's overtrained. I'd be very curious to see how this model handles new and unforeseen data. Or it could just be on a very, very, very simplistic system that you might be able to achieve that. But in either of these two cases, they're not realistic. So I hope this has, just giving you something to consider. Consider for a moment that where did the energy come from to get the universe? Where did the mass come from? For every system that we know in this universe, the mass or energy has to come from somewhere else. How did the universe cause itself? Every system that we know in this universe is the effect of another source cause, right? Evolution or the forming of the planets, it's all has a more root cause. So what was the very root cause, the cause zero for the universe? How did it cause itself? The universe would have needed to cause itself in its own root cause, and then after that, everything else is the effect of that root cause. There are no more root causes. That seems strange to me. No more systems in the universe could be their own cause, although the universe is a system in reality could be its own cause. That's what you would have to argue without God. So objects at rest will stay at rest unless they are acted upon by an external system. Well, how can the universe, the Big Bang, have a catalyst to be started without being acted upon by an external force? What was that external force? What can be external to the universe? The counter arguments to these, if you say no God, then you have to look at the multiverse theorem and just say, well, the Big Bang in a lot of these infinite realities did not go off. So that's where the complete random chance goes on. But still, I again would ask, even in the multiverse model, how did the multiverse cause itself? What was the root cause of that system? Again, so we're back to square one. But just something to consider, something to think about. Root cause and effect. Energy has to come from somewhere, and it cannot create itself. It cannot be created or destroyed. It can change state. Objects, in order to be put in motion, need to be acted upon by an external force. What was that external force? Well, in all these instances, we can say there must be a being that exists outside of these laws that in fact created the universe and put it into motion. It seems reasonable. I think it passes Occam's razor. I think that complete random chance does not describe all this, and then you need to start adding stuff on top of complete random chance. Well, multiverse and things like that, multiverse and parallel dimensions, and other such explanations to say, well, this is why our universe worked, because there's millions and millions of universes that did not work. Of course, we have no proof of that. You have to take that on faith. And there you have it. Well, I thank you for listening. I hope this was not too, complex. I try to keep it as simple as I could. But if you have any questions, certainly leave them in the comments below. If you'd like to retort this or critique it, also, I'm all ears. And thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.